Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your 2017 marketing plan. It's not too late to start the year off right. I want to give everybody a heads up that this is not just a presentation, it's a conversation. So feel free to post any questions or comments to YouTube or tweet to us directly at RPS123shoot, SHOOT. And if you're listening to this after the live broadcast, still ask us anyway. We'll follow up with any comments that get posted on the blog as well, or on YouTube in that area. All right, so for those of you who don't know us, I'm Amanda Sutt, and I'm the creative director here at Rock, Paper, Scissors, and we are a branding and marketing firm. We have been in this business for over 30 years, so we've seen a lot of changes and done a lot of changing ourselves to keep up with the time. We focus on our clients' brands, not just their logo and marketing collateral, but the entire experience. And also joining us today on our webinar is our content marketer, Valerie Kinney.
Hi, everybody.
All right, so let's dive into this. So we are nearly a month into 2017, and that means it's time to hit the ground running with your 2017 marketing efforts, which should have began with your marketing plan. But the question is, what if you don't have one yet? Well, the good news is that it's never too late to create a marketing plan for your business. And today we're going to take a closer look at what a marketing plan is, why you need one, why it's never to create the plan for your business in order to help you get the success that you need.
Okay, so first things first, let's dive into what a marketing plan is and really get that definition down. I really like the short, sweet definition from the Digital Marketing Reference, which says that a marketing plan is part of the business plan outlining the marketing strategy. So it can be created for marketing your entire business. It can be narrowed down for a particular product or service. It just depends on what your needs and your business goals are for the year. And so today we're just going to kind of keep it broad and think about the overall business and its marketing plan.
So now that you know what a marketing plan is, it's time to talk about why you need one. Your marketing plan will help guide your marketing efforts as well as your entire team and keep them on track to make sure you're communicating a consistent message to the right audience. However, it goes much further than that. So let's look at some additional reasons for why you need a marketing plan. First up, put your thought process on paper to showcase the bigger picture, and this gets everyone on the same page, on your page. There are so many studies and reports that talk about what a difference it makes going from just talking about something to writing it down. There's actually some psychology in it, from going from this creative process and thinking it to crossing different hemispheres of your brain to actually writing it down. There's a lot that goes into that, so I'm not going to do a whole psychology lesson, but you think through a lot more pieces so that you have a much more solid idea in place. And then the other side of it is everybody else knows exactly what you're thinking because it's all written down. All right, second, it provides direction and helps you focus in on your customers, who they are, and their wants and needs, and how your product or service can help them. When the whole goes back to writing it down, you get to really see where you're taking your company and what that message looks like. So you have that bird's eye perspective of what's going on.
And will also help you define your business's vision and the target audience or client. So it helps you craft messages moving forward. And also, when you're doing that research and figuring out who your audience is, what their needs are, you can also take the time to figure out where do they spend their time, social media, are they reading magazines, newspapers, whatever, and figuring out where to put these messages that you're going to be creating as a part of your marketing plan. And then it also allows you to determine where you want to go and map out how you plan to get there. It's kind of like making travel plans. I'm not going to hop in my car and say, I'm going to drive to Denver, Colorado, out exactly how I'm going to get there. So that's a good way to think about it.
It also helps you and your employees understand business goals and helps everyone make educated decisions on their own that are in line with the business objectives. I mean, this also gives ownership because you, as either a business owner or a marketing director, you can delegate when it's all in one place. You can share some of the responsibility and ownership, and people can take ownership of their own sections. So that becomes really important. Also allows you to monitor your success and work towards your goals. We'll get into a little bit more about how to track this, but you're not just shooting from the hip. You're being conscious about what you're trying to achieve, and then you start tracking it to make sure that you're on track with that.
So the next question you have is, how do I even start writing a marketing plan? And the first step is to take a look at your overall business goals, as well as your goals for the year overall, and take the time to ask yourself some questions like, do you want to increase sales? Do you want to expand into a new territory or region? Are you looking at offering new services or launching a new product? Once you kind of figured out what those goals are for the year, that's when you can start working on your strategy.
All right, and once you've determined which goals you want to work towards, this is when you really start connecting the strategy for achieving those goals. So it's that whole idea of, I like to use the going to a mall for any of those that are still around here. If you walk up to a directory, you decide you're going to a specific department store, that's your goal. And then you start to develop, so that gives you your final endpoint. So then you try to figure out how you're going to get to that area. Are you going to go past the food court and pick up a snack? Are you going to go straight beeline it for there? So that's just something to think about when we're talking about why you have goals and why do you put strategies to connect them, because that becomes a very different experience if you're going to the mall and just going to pick up that pair of jeans, or are you going to make it an all-out experience?
And once you have your strategy and those tactics for achieving your goals in place, you can start defining the resources you have to make all this happen. And resources can include a lot of different things. It could include people, time, money, technology, and more. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that right now.
Mm-hmm. So time and money end up being the biggest assets when you're looking at your marketing. And a lot of people focus just on, the financial side of it, but that time side can be such a big aspect of it. And you don't always tie back what the company's paying in staff or time. So that becomes a big part of what you want to track as well. That's why you need a plan to wisely make choices about how you're spending your marketing budget, as well as those hours among your team members. And so this will help you maximize the dollars and the time of your team so that you're actually creating things that are successful. So after you've determined your resources, you're ready to convert this into a realistic and achievable plan for your team. All right, so now we've done that big, broad overview of your marketing plan. Let's get into a few of the best practices that we recommend to keep in mind as you get started on your marketing plan.
So first, you need to define what success looks like for you and your team. That way everyone's on the same page. They'll know when your plan is doing what it's supposed to do. Are you looking for one new contract each month, selling 100 units of a new product each month? Figuring out what those are parameters, so you know when we reach this mark, our plan has been successful.
Or the flip side of it, if you're not getting close to those goals, then you start to change what some of your strategies and tactics to achieving them. So it helps your team be on the same page as opposed to pointing fingers at each other.
Exactly.
And not pointing fingers at each other. Also, it helps. You want to assign responsibility. You give clear ownership and specific responsibilities to team members that will have a part in mapping out the plan. As we mentioned earlier, it helps to spread out the work evenly, which helps prevent team member burnout. And more importantly, it helps your team members hold each other accountable for the work that needs to be done. And it usually also leads to a lot of collaboration, so you usually get better results than you thought you would.
All right, you also want to set up regular reporting and audits, and it just kind of depends. There's no really set timeline on how anybody has to do it. Some people, depending on their marketing goals, may look at it once a month, once a quarter, biannually. It just kind of depends on your business and what those needs are. And by setting up these regular reporting and audit periods, it'll give you the chance to see your successes, as well as areas that might need some improvement or reevaluation. You know, you may need to make a few tweaks here and there. You can also spot trends, see what is working, and kind of figure out how can we maximize that and model the areas that need improvement after what's working.
Mm-hmm. I also want to look at your marketing mix, and this can be a lot of different things. This could be the channels that you're going out to. This can be using your internal resources as well. So you just want to make sure that you're not getting too focused on one thing and neglecting the other in your overall goal to achieve the results that you need. Also, kind of double back a little bit on responsibility. You also want to give somebody specific leadership. Otherwise, you end up with a lot of the blame game. Oh, I thought you were doing this, and I thought you were doing that. You need somebody to make sure that everything is on track, and that is helping hold everybody accountable.
And you also want to keep in mind, just be flexible. Don't stress out if you see something isn't working out like you had hoped for or that you had planned for. This is when you use that reporting and auditing time to readjust based on what is working. Like I said earlier, when you see something is working really, really well, look at what you can take from that and apply it to what hasn't been working well, and then come back and look at it later and see, okay, was this successful, or do we need to readjust again?
Yeah, so by now you have a good idea of what your marketing plan should contain, but the question is, what does it really look like? My biggest advice with crafting a marketing plan is not to make it too complicated. This is it's better done than great kind of situation. That's why we decided to do this presentation after the new year. You know, ideally you want to have everything ready for the year before it starts, but you know, if there's something that's kind of holding you up from getting into this, it's time to start looking at it and saying, okay, what are some of your blocks? So some of the specifics I usually recommend starting with a written document that defines your goals, strategies, and objectives. And this is just open up a Word document and answer what are your goals, strategies, and objectives. And that's where you just need to start. So once you have those in place, you'll want to build a calendar. So kind of taking what your goals and objectives are and start applying them to the year. You want to see what that starts to look and feel like, and see, do you have too much going on in one month? Are you giving yourself enough time to prepare for other months? You're also going to want to overlay your budget on top of that, so that you can start seeing, you know, how many hours your team is putting towards something, or how much you're spending in each month, and you're getting the return on it. So that becomes a big part of it. End of last year, we did a webinar on content calendars. There's a lot that you can leverage from that. They're not, your marketing plan and your content calendar are not that dissimilar. Your marketing plan just covers everything, and you end up with a calendar in there which can have part of your content. So just know that once you're doing some of your content planning for social media and blogging, your marketing plan should just be an expanded version of that when you're looking at your calendar. The final document that you want to have is your reporting template. I always recommend that before you actually launch your campaign is you actually just go ahead and create the document that you're going to put your final report in. By doing that, it makes you really start to think through all of the components that maybe you forgot about, or that you want to make sure that you're tracking at the beginning. You want to make sure that you're getting the return on the investment that you want, and that you're building something that you can measure. You might not be able to measure everything, but you want to make sure that there's some components to make sure that it's worth the time and resources that your business is putting towards it. There's nothing worse than doing something because you've always done it, and then it doesn't actually produce any results, and you could have spent your time and money in other ways. So, all right. Hopefully you have a good feeling and feel a little bit more equipped for creating your marketing plan and moving forward. So we're ready to take some questions. So go ahead and post them if you haven't, and we have a batch to get us started that we got earlier in the week.
All right, so the first one is, do I really need a marketing plan if my business is a one-man show?
Most definitely. I don't think there's any business too big or small that should not have a marketing plan, especially if you're a one-man show. It's so easy to get pulled away and distracted, that if you can take some of that just quality time to map out what the year needs to look like, when you get pulled away and you can come back, then you're not panicked and you can make good choices and you know what you're supposed to do. It goes back to, you're not shooting from the hip, you're making conscious choices, and that it's all working together.
All right, next question. What suggestions do you have for measuring the success of your marketing plan?
Ooh, so I'll say the advantage that we have right now is being in the digital age. Your website traffic is always a great thing to look at, especially if you're driving people back to find information on your website. Email marketing, there's so much data there. Same with social media. So starting to figure out kind of what are your key performance indicators. So what is going to tell you that you were successful? Or if you're doing some type of mailing, you have a promotional code or a coupon code, using a hashtag and tracking it. Whatever it is, you really want to think about what do you want your customer or client to do? And then you want to think about how are they going to tell you that they did it? So whether that's clicking a button or walking into a store, you want to think about what those are. So really think about that whole customer experience. We're not just thinking about, I'm sending out a postcard and I hope I get sales from it. But, okay, if somebody gets that postcard, what do you want them to do next? And is that something that you can track and measure? So you want to think about that for each one of your components. And as I said, not everything can be measured. Like if you're doing a big rebranding, you might not be able to get a direct return on your investment metric for having a new logo. But there are other components that you might want to roll out when you're doing that, of having some type of email campaign that announces it, or some press releases that are going out. And those are things that you can measure, that will show you that people are seeing it and connecting with it. And then most importantly, just throw a call to action in there. Ask people for their feedback. That is something that is very easy to measure. That was a lot of an answer for a short question, so hopefully that helps.
It's good information. All right, next up, can you include new products or services you plan to roll out this year in your overall marketing plan, or should these have a separate marketing plan?
They should all be mentioned in one big marketing plan, so you understand what's going on. Now, you might have some little breakouts, especially if you're working with teams, so that you don't necessarily need everybody to see everything. But if you're overseeing the entire marketing effort, you don't want to lose track of something because you have it on a separate document. So the whole idea with that big marketing plan is that you have a comprehensive view, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't potentially segment that for bigger groups that don't need to see the whole piece.
All right. I think this is our last question.
All right.
I really want to be intentional in making sure I actually put my marketing plan into action this year. I've tried to create plans in the past and never seem to get past or get them off the paper and into action. Any tips for those of us who struggle with that step?
Yes. Put them on your calendar. That's the biggest thing. Go ahead before you start booking yourself with meetings and projects. Make your business and your marketing a priority. So go ahead and schedule, if you're going to do a blog post every month, go ahead and block that time and respect it. Some stuff might come up, but the whole idea is if you have it on your calendar, then you're consciously moving it, saying, okay, well, I have to meet with a client this day, so I'm going to need to move it one day over. So that really helps. I also go ahead and recommend scheduling your reporting and your auditing. So like if it is the first Monday of every month, things like Google Calendar will let you do a repeat event for that. Go ahead and set up that reporting so that you know that you're doing it. So before your calendar fills up, put a lot of stuff on there. And then if you are getting stuck, take a second and try and figure out what's getting in your way. Is the thing that you're doing too complicated? Did you underestimate the amount of time? The whole point of this is to be successful. We're not saying for you to create a lot of work for you just to be frustrated. I'm a huge advocate of start small, and do it really well and then add to it. So if you are just getting new into really moving forward with your own marketing plan and you know you want to do all the social media and blogging, well, maybe you just start with the blog. Make sure that you, for the first quarter of the year, just every month have a new blog post. Like, do that and get some confidence and success. Then once you get that in place and you feel like you could maybe do 2 or start adding some social media, add those in over the course of the year. Don't try and do everything at once, because that's also one of the reasons that you might not be able to get past the paper is it becomes too big of a project to tackle. So that's something that's just really important, to be realistic, and it is hard. I speak from a place of that I struggle with it as well, but take that moment, step back and say, okay, why am I not getting to what I need to do? And that's the whole point of having the marketing plan, is that you're consciously choosing to make choices, and you can change it if you want to, but that you're not just, going, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Let's spend all this money on this initiative and let's do this one. There is no magic bullet, but if you have a plan and you measure it and you work towards it, you will figure out how you need to reach your goal. So is that it?
That's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for your 2017 marketing plan. It's not too late to start the year off right. A recap of the webinar will be posted on our blog soon, so stay tuned to 123shoot.com. And be sure to join us on February 15th for our next webinar, where we'll be discussing less is more approach to advertising. So, all right, thanks guys. Talk to you next time.